The time the airline I worked for lost thousands because they didn't want to pay me $10.50. So, the year before COVID hit the US, I started working for one of the major airlines at my local airport as a baggage handler. I absolutely loved the job. I just enjoyed being around planes from the ground level. When I started, there were no full-time positions available, so I was working part-time 6-hour nights 5 times a week. The way it usually works is each gate has a lead, the person with extra training to do the load planning and scanning and towing the planes to the runway as well as guiding them in, and a few baggage handlers. Now I had only been there a few months, but I was working my ass off and showing that I was a team player. I decided I was gonna try to become a lead, even though they usually want you to work a year or so as a handler first. I was confident and ended up passing the training course with ease. The problem was they had no availability for more leads, so I was put into what was basically an on-call lead kind of thing where they could upgrade me for the day if they needed more leads. Now whenever they upgrade you to lead, even if it's for a single flight, they have to pay you the extra $1.75 our leads get for your whole shift. Remember, I work 6-hour days, so $10.50 is the cost to make me a lead for my shift. Now for a few months everything was great. I was a part-time baggage handler, but I was working as a lead for my whole shift every shift, and I was loving every second of it. Something about towing huge planes full of people to the runway was just awesome to me. Enter everyone's favorite virus, good ol' COVID-19. Within months the airline industry is tanking pretty hard as nobody wants to travel and get stuck somewhere. Supervisors are being told to cut costs everywhere they can, which makes sense given the circumstances. Cue up the night of my MC. It's maybe 11 p.m. and I'm on till 1 a.m. Supervisors have sent a large chunk of workers home, and those of us left are being sent all over the airport to cover the flights we do still have coming. I get a call from the office that assigns your flights and am told to go grab a box and a walkie, the stuff needed to plug into the plane, to talk to the flight deck. They tell me head to the gate the flight's landing in 5 and to just put in my request for lead. When asked to be a lead, you put it in on the company app and a supervisor approves your pay raise for the day. I get to my gate, check the load coming off the plane, brief the handlers on what's coming down, and we all get to our spots to bring the plane in. I see the plane coming down the lane to my gate, and at the same time my zone supervisor drives up to my gate and asks me to come over. He then tells me something along the lines of, "Hey man, we can't upgrade you to lead right now, we just can swing that extra expense right now." I respond with, "Okay, so who's going to bring this plane?" As nobody else on the gate is lead trained and supervisors are not allowed to do any of our work because of the union rules. He then tells me he is going to go find another lead to bring it in and to just assist him when he arrives. So I'm like, sure, whatever. Now it's important to note that planes have very tight metrics for how long it can take to bring a flight and unload and reload for the next flight. The flight pulls up to the edge of my gate and comes to a stop as there's no lead there guiding them in, so the flight just sits there waiting, and the entire gate crew are also just standing around waiting. 20 minutes go by and my radio I still have on me goes off, and the office is pissed. They want to know why the hell I'm holding this flight short and not bringing it in. To which obviously I reply with, "What do you mean? Ex-supervisor told me they couldn't afford to pay me for lead work today and that he would find someone else." He then asks me if I can please just bring it in for him. And I said, "Sorry, but if you're not willing to pay me to do the lead work, then I'm only going to do the handler work I'm being paid for." As it turns out, they sent too many leads home this night, and the ones they did have were all busy on flights already. After about 45 minutes, a lead from 2 terminals over finally strolls up and we're able to unload the plane as usual, but that 45 minutes the plane sat idle at the gate cost thousands in extra fuel plus OT for flight attendants forced into mandatory overtime from the situation. Not to mention all the passengers who were pissed off from the extra wait, who all were comped some credits with the airline for the trouble. I also come to find out the supervisor's bonus were based on flight turn time, and this 45-minute short hold probably cost him his bonus and a write-up. So basically, the TLDR is supervisor didn't want to pay me the $10.50 for me to be a lead for the day, and instead cost the airline thousands on a heavily delayed plane at the gate, and probably his yearly bonus that all could have been avoided by just paying me the extra $1.75 hour for my 6-hour shift. Edit. I feel I should also add that as per the company rules, only leads can bring planes, and so bringing in the flight for him while not being designated as a lead would technically also be against their rules.
Now to the comments. Bahaha, as someone that recently got screwed over by a shitty airline, nice work.
What I enjoy about Europe are the passenger rights. It makes a delay/denied boarding so much easier to accept, since you can claim between 250 to 600, depends on distance, per passenger per flight. My mood drops for the first 2 hours of delay and then starts to rise in hope they break the 3-hour payout barrier.
About 10 years ago, I had a flight from Bergen to Oslo on SAS, but everyone in Bergen told me that the train ride was gorgeous, and I should do that instead. It is, BTW. So, about an hour before my flight left, I went to the SAS counter, gave them my tickets, basically said just FYI, I won't be on the flight, and then went to the train. As an American, I was stunned to find a refund on my credit card equal to half the cost of my round-trip tickets. It turns out, airlines really can be made to treat you decently, and the increase in ticket prices is minor, and worth it. Manglement at its finest. DGS/Unify/Menzies/United Ground Services/WFS/Swissport doesn't care about that money because the airlines don't care. One day the understaffing at our ground handling company cost Delta and United probably about $15,000 in hotel/food vouchers because we only had 4 people to do our whole operation during the afternoon 2-hour bank. Yes, you heard that right. 4 employees for the whole entire airport. 1 person checking in 4 flights at 2 separate companies, 1 person running the gate, and only 2 rampers. Needless to say, everybody had blown connections and I made sure that it was all thrown on our management so that people got controllable delayed vouchers. I caught a bunch of heat from it, but they knew that they could only shake their fist because if they lost me, then the next day would only be 3 people and even worse. But it doesn't matter to the airlines because you got to travel, and who else are you going to use?
It where you work, but Swissport definitely gives a shit about the money. Where I was, all departments would get hounded if there was even the slightest of delay, and investigations would be made if enough reports were made under any certain supervisor. Goodbye position. It was pretty funny watching ramp leads vs ticket counter leads point fingers at whose fault it was over the delay.
It was pretty funny watching ramp leads vs ticket counter leads point fingers at whose fault it was over the delay. And that's what it comes down to, pointless fighting on where the delay happened. Even if the delay is because management thinks they can do a 5-person turn with only 4 and everyone was giving it 100%. Now, don't get me wrong, if the delay was legit because supervisors are being lazy asses and not monitoring the workforce, then that's 100% acceptable for station leadership to come down on them. I have found that is the exception and not the norm. Are you USA Swissport or in another country, because that matters too, oddly enough. Good on you for standing your ground. Your sup was probably hoping you would be a team player and forego your pay to make him look good. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
I'm a team player, but only when the team pays.
You want a team player, you got to be a team payer. As a former gate agent, I enjoyed every second of this story because I understand everything perfectly from first-hand experience too. LOL. Not sure where you live, but dang. 10.50 for a lead. Where I'm at, our ramp team gets paid $15 to $20. I was at 17.50 working as gate agent / ticket counter, and this was years ago. I'm glad you cost those duckers money. Feels good to screw over a shitty supervisor. I've got stories for days with how much of a power trip these supervisors get on.
OP replied. Nah, it was $1.75 more an hour on top of your hourly. $10.50 was the total it would have cost to pay me for 6 hours at that extra rate.
It's crazy how these companies can get away with being so dang cheap. If I was the supervisor, I'd have given you $11 out of my own pocket and keep the change if I knew my bonus was in jeopardy.
Funny story about bonus. I know somebody in a retail store that can get a bonus if he sells enough products. Products are around $40, and the bonus is probably like $250 per month. The end of the month come and he was short of like $120 to get the bonus. He asked, is a self-purchase count towards the bonus goal? They said yes. So he purchased for $120 to get the $250.
I have a friend that used to do sales for a beer distributor. They had a drive to sell Budweiser Tall Boys 1 month, and at the end of the month he needed to sell about $80 more to get a $500 bonus. So he bought $80 of Budweiser and gave it to me because he doesn't drink it and I do. I get free beer, he nets $420.